Ni hao, what's just Stephanie? Oh my god, I can't even tell you how broken my tripod is. What has happened? Hi! Okay, let me try one more thing. Wow. I haven't even used it for days. And here we go. Okay, that's as good as it's gonna get today. Hi there! Welcome to Changing Scripts. Oh my god. There are bits of my tripod that are falling off in ways that I didn't even realize the tripod was connected. Okay, not a point. This is an update video, mostly about the LanguageCon conference. Holy cow. Can I do a preview? That's my preview of the conference. I'm going to be referring to some notes, so my glasses are going to go on and off. I apologize for the glare. Okay, first of all, yay! I thought this was really, really funny. They gave us stickers with the name tags. You're supposed to write your name, and you're supposed to put the stickers of all the languages that you could speak to other people in. It was a language learning conference, so I think they were trying to facilitate using any language that two people commonly had together. However, with my monolingualism, I was like, oh man, really? I'm presenting and I'm going to put one. But if you can see here, there we go. They have it not just by EN for English, but they have it for different varieties of English, which is clever, but they only had inner circle Englishes. Did they have only inner circle? Let's see. They had American English, British English, New Zealand, Canadian. Oh, I stink with flags. I absolutely stink with flags. And there's a couple more, but I'm pretty sure most of these are inner circle English, which if you're not familiar with inner circle, outer circle, I think that's Kuchru, K-U-C-H-R-U, if you want to geek out academically about that. It's basically where English has been used as a primary state language or first language, or however you want to say it, for quite a long time. Outer circle are the places where it's used as a second language or bi-language with whatever else is commonly used and all that kind of stuff. I would prefer just English, just language, not language country, because I can speak these different dialects, but dialects is different varieties. I just woke up. Okay, so I can speak a lot of these different varieties and I can understand a fair number of them. However, not completely and definitely not. Yeah, anyway, the point is, it was an interesting concept, but I do want to feedback to them on that. That was a little awkward at times. Oh, I don't know. I have such a mixed feeling about the conference. I mean, I said, because a lot of amazing things happened, but then there were also some, I can't say sad moments, that's weird, but some reflective moments where I realized it's just another conference and people were there to sell, some people were there to sell their product or their service, and some people were there to be attracted to the next shiny new technology, which mine isn't. I was presenting on this channel, so this is quite meta to talk about a conference where I was presenting on what the contents of this channel and what it means for language learning and what kind of apps could be made to... I actually didn't do that. I didn't want to, although I've made a couple of videos of ideas for apps, I didn't really want to go into the ones that I might make next year. But it was sort of like, you know, how can that influence what's missing in language learning, mobile materials and resources and apps and whatnot that I learned over the past 4 months trying to learn a language. Anyway, I don't want to bore you with my presentation because as soon as it's available on their website, it was filmed, I will post it here, and if you want to put yourself through that, you can watch that. Okay, but I do want to talk about some of the things I saw as an audience member in there, and then some conversations I had, and just general impressions of the conference overall. I believe this is the second year that they've done the LanguageCon conference, and if I am incorrect, that is completely possible. Leave it in the comment section, and I will we'll have that for the record. So it was co-hosted by NYU, New York University, Shanghai, and italki. And if you don't know what italki is, I'm told it is one of the best online platforms for connecting with tutors. I haven't used it yet myself, but I am rather inspired to try it in a few more weeks once I get some words under my belt, or maybe even sooner. I don't know. I'm in a massive reassessment of this week's learning goals, to be honest with you. Anyway, so let's see. what did we have here? I like, as far as just talking about the program, I like how they had the pictures of the presenters on one side with the name and then the events that were happening. So it was really easy to kind of picture, like it was a small conference. I want to say there were under 200 people there total, presenters and non-presenters combined. So it was really nice to like walk around and talk to people and then go and say, okay, I did talk to him, or I like what he was saying in the hallway, I want to go see his presentation or her presentation, and that kind of thing. So it was really nice, or to go see a presentation and go, oh, I can't remember who that was, what was their name, and boom, there it is. So it was really, really easy to follow that. It was a little hard to circle the ones I wanted to go to on this black shiny paper, so I ended up just putting a post-it and kind of creating my own thing with time and what room I wanted to go to kind of remind myself of which ones I already pre-selected, because this is really hard to write on. There were QR codes all around for various different things. They had a VR booth just before my presentation, and I was too nervous and checking out the technology to make sure my videos worked in the room and all that kind of pre-presentation prep, so I didn't actually get to go to their VR room and play with that technology. I'm not as interested in virtual reality as other tools that one can use, low-cost tools that people can use globally as well, so I'm not going to lie, if I was really interested, I probably would have rushed through my own prep and gone over. But there was a project going on with virtual reality for language learning, and I did hear from a number of folks that it was rather cool. There was also a language mix group, which is a group in Shanghai that meets 3 times a week now. I did not know about this. They are, of course, focused on speaking. They go to bars, and they have, similar to this, where they have the language. You walk in and you put the languages that you speak on your shirt, and then you walk around and talk to people in whichever language matches the people that you talk to. So it sounds like a really, really cool event, and they had their own section of the conference where people would come and go and talk to each other. So there was that. Am I missing anything? There were a lot of little things going on. There was a booth of something, Magnolia booth. I kept meaning to come back to that booth and go inside and do what was there, and I got really wonderfully distracted by talking to the people that were presenting, the people that were attending, and basically just people there. So I never actually did that booth, and I think that might have been it. And then just the presentations themselves, which were pretty awesome. The ones that I went to, and because after I went, I crossed them off, I have to go back and use some magic visual skills to figure it out. I did make notes actually of talking points, because I'm going to email a lot of people. Because and this is the sign of a good conference, a lot of the presentations I went to as an audience member, I found myself taking notes on things I wanted to ask or comment, or information I wanted to relay to people that I saw, because their stuff was really interesting. I saw a woman that was doing co-programs. Let me do it. Mastering a subject. Yeah, she was doing co-programs with different universities in other countries, and in Canada. I'm still looking at flags, sorry. And in China, and that was interesting. I saw a woman that did one on world Englishes, and I was very excited to see that presented at the conference, because we do spend way too much time on native speakers of the language. English is one of those languages, not just for themselves, Spanish and maybe French to some extent. Yeah, sure. There are a number of languages that are spoken globally and have different varieties. English is not the only one, it's just the one that I have the most knowledge on. So there's that. So it's really good to acknowledge when your students are learning the language to say, British, and there's this false dichotomy of you're going to learn American English, or you're going to learn British English, and there are just so many more varieties, and to expose them to the different varieties now, not when they're advanced and then go to a place that speaks a variety they didn't study and then are totally flustered that they can't understand a damn thing that's going on. So I was really excited that she was there. And future trends in Chinese classrooms, that was really interesting, talking about learning trends, because I've only taught I taught in a government school, like a foundation year program in Nanjing, where we were getting teenagers prepared post high school to go to university in the U.S. So that was my only teaching experience here. I didn't teach K through 12. primary or secondary school. I didn't teach at university. So it was really cool to see trends in the Chinese classroom from somebody who had been inside a Chinese classroom much, much more than I had. And what was the last? There was a really good one on practice, language learning practice, how to keep motivated, what tools you could use, how to track. She did some stuff on tracking your language learning process. I have to go back through my notes and take a look at what she had talked about, because that is one of my downfalls, is consistent practice. I have to say that again, because in the update videos, one of the things I like to do, even though this one is on the conference, is the conference is reminding me it's about keeping going. So it's now Monday morning, and the conference happened on Saturday. I was a bit tired afterwards because there was the nervous rush of presenting. There was the wonderful, wonderful experience of meeting so many people throughout the conference itself. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot this. I went to the co-founder of italki, Kevin Chen. I went to his presentation as well. And I actually ran into him in the speaker's room after his presentation. We continued talking for a bit. And that's the kind of thing I love about conferences, is that you can have these conversations with people who have already made a huge impact in the industry. And so I was a bit starstruck, and I hope I didn't come across as an idiot, but I was like, you've transformed so many. I've heard so many polyglots talk about italki, and polyglots are picky on their resources. The monolinguals will use anything for a while and then decide if it works or not, and polyglots are super picky, and I've heard a lot of people talking about how wonderful this, how wonderful italki is. And so to me, the co-founder of it, I was floored, and he was so down to earth, and so, like, I feel like we had a common ground in wanting language learning to continue to evolve from the stagnantness that is inevitable in the classroom, and what other levels it's going to outside of the classroom, and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so the point is, I totally got sidetracked. Speaking of technology, YouTube editor is completely gone, so I'm trying to, until I switch over to a new editor, I'm trying to do videos one-off without any editing. So if there's an awkward pause in these videos in the next week or so, it's because I'm editorless. I have recommendations, and I have one that I'm probably actually going to purchase that was highly recommended from some other YouTubers. So I'm not clueless, I just haven't had time yet. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Post-conference, I was a little good overwhelmed and exhausted from the nervous energy, but I could have posted a video yesterday, but I do have a bit of, how do I say this? Language guilt? It's not language guilt. Embarrassment that I was presenting without the ability to be fluent in a second language. Because again, I'm only 4.5 months into this project, and this project, I hope, is the one that helps me keep motivated to the point of pushing through and being able to actually communicate in another language. But it's 4.5 months in, and although I've learned quite a bit about the mobile apps that are available for learning Chinese and the background of the language itself, and a ton about the radicals and somewhat about the meaning and sound components and things like that, I'm really useless as far as communicating in either spoken or written form. So there was a bit of a carefulness that I was having conversations with people, because I was in awe of what most folks didn't put different varieties of the same language, they put different languages, because it's a language learning conference, and people that go to those like to learn languages, and unlike me, a lot of them could. And so there was a bit, not of a fraud moment, but a bit of a, oh man, I am so in awe, and I'm not there yet, and I can stubbornly say I may have found a way that's better for me or people like me to learn languages, that may save a lot of the beginners that drop out of learning a language, but I don't know yet because it's way too soon. And I didn't have a sexy, shiny new technology to show people, so when it got to my presentation, it was not packed. There were a fair number of people in there. Oh my gosh, I've been to conferences where there's like 1 or 2 people in a room. Thank goodness, not for not for, oh wait, I did have one conference where I had 5 or 6 people. But I've been to conferences where there have been talks with 1 or 2 people in the room, and it's a little awkward to have that small of an audience. And it definitely wasn't that. I think it was almost up to like a dozen people in my room. But it was a fair-sized room that would probably hold 60 people. And the people that were working on language learning technology were not in the room, at least to my knowledge. There were a lot of younger, local, I think, students and whatnot that were in the room, and which was really interesting perspective, because although I knew I was presenting at NYU Shanghai, the information I got from LanguageCon staff, the wonderful, wonderful staff that helped put this together, was more that it was a mixture of like faculty and students and like local entrepreneurs that were working on language learning things and things like that. And so I hadn't really expected that population to be my room, but how cool, because like some of the things that were coming up of, I think this flashcard has this thing, is this or isn't it that? Like they could actually answer that. But it was not a population that I don't know who I was expecting. I think that's part of my nerves, is I wasn't sure who I was going to be talking to about the project. But the good news is that the technology worked, the videos worked. I feel pretty confident about my narrative flow of what has been done so far, but I really feel like this presentation was the preface to the actual project. I feel like I haven't even dug in yet to what I'm doing, and so I feel like it was a preface without even a real idea of what's going to happen. So I feel like it's not even like a movie trailer, because movie trailers have some of the best bits of the movie, and I feel like the best bits haven't even happened yet. so it's really, I don't know, maybe the best bits are the kinds of videos, but the learning that would happen in them hasn't happened to the extent that I think would be impressive or convince people that if they failed at learning a language, they could try this instead. That hasn't happened yet. So it's a lot of, there's all this work, but the product's not ready. The product, the idea, the whatever. So it was very premature. And I knew that a month ago when I applied and got accepted to the conference that it might feel a little awkward. And I kept telling myself that day, wouldn't it be cool on Saturday? Wouldn't it be cool if I could come back next year and present again as a continuation, and maybe to have a prototype of one of my apps. I mean, that's a pretty lofty goal for a year, but I don't know, like continue it every year at the same conference, and see how it evolves that way. That could be one of my markers of progress and whatnot. And so I don't know, I kept thinking that, like, there's always that. I know it's too premature now, but it could get better in the future, kind of thing. So the reason why I didn't post sooner is because I didn't want my kind of disappointment in myself for still being monolingual to taint my impression of the conference. The conference is one of the best conferences I've been to. Since I heard about the International Polyglot Conference a few years ago, I've been meaning to go to that. But time and location, funds, those things haven't quite met up yet. Although I am still monolingual, they say you don't have to speak multiple languages, but I think to get the most out of those conferences, it'd be good if you could kind of maneuver and talk to different people in different languages. That sounds to me like the coolest part of that kind of conference. So I'm going to put it on my calendar to see where it's going to, it just happened I think like last month for this year. So I think I'll put it on the calendar to see where it hits next year, see if I can, if I'm progressed enough in any given language to feel like I could go and have that kind of playfulness with a second language, and also location, vacation time, all that kind of stuff. So I can see if I can plan around it and finally go to one of those, because I think that would be a bigger version of what this was, because this is a newer conference. I don't think it's picked up quite the momentum yet, and because it's in the same place every year and blah 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 blah. So I think LanguageCon has a lot of potential, a lot of potential. It was so exciting to see so many people talking about language learning from a really, really thoughtful, innovative, out-of-the-box perspective. There were a lot of things that generally are overlooked or not paid attention to intentionally because of priorities within language learning contexts that were really, really matter-of-factly addressed head-on. And I love that. I love that. I love language learning being taken outside of the classroom and analyzed and thought of like what can be done anywhere, not just in that one context, but what can be done for language learning to help people learn languages. So I love the fact that there was a lot of thought that's going into it, and I know it's still market driven. I'm not naive, but having a market drive a product can a lot of times get the product to be more effective than if it's in a stagnant environment that's not dependent on if it works, which is kind of where education in some places, and language learning specifically, is where that is in many contexts right now, not just in my home country, but globally. Not all, and it's certainly changing, and it's exciting to see how much it's changing. As an ex-language teacher, I'm very, very excited to see all the options that language learners have, and as a language learner, I'm excited to use them. So if you are at all interested, there will be another LanguageCon next year, probably about the same time in Shanghai at NYU. So put it on your calendar. You can even contact me like a couple months before, so I'll throw you some of the details. One of the things I want to feed back to them on is their outreach outside of the local market. I think they could attract a lot more people, because Shanghai is so international. I think they could attract more people in multiple languages on multiple platforms outside of Chinese platforms. And I'm not sure if they're allowed to do that, but I want to see if I can toss my hat in the ring and offer to try to help them do that, because I think there are a lot more people in Shanghai and in China and in the region and just globally that would really appreciate something like this, the perspective of this. There's so much that happened, but we're at 22 minutes already. I met some amazing people, and you know who you are. I don't want to take away anybody's anonymity or whatnot, but I do have some folks that agreed to come on a walkabout with me. I'll be contacting you. So we'll be doing Chinese walkabouts with some other folks who are more fluent in the language, and we'll work out how to do that, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really excited about that. I may have my first Chinese teacher interview, the potential person to interview for that. So there's a couple of things that came out selfishly about this channel that are going to show up in video form. So you'll meet those folks when they come on the channel. So I'm very, very excited about that. But in general, I think the conference was insanely wonderful. Even if I had gone not as a presenter, but just as a participant, an audience member, I think I still would have had my head kind of reeling from just goodness, language learning goodness, friendly, down to earth, informative, introspective, people who want languages to be learned. That's kind of my quick non-grammatical synopsis of the conference. So just a wonderful, wonderful experience. I needed a couple of days to get over my own language shame in order to tell you this without that getting in the way. So I think I think I've put my ego away enough to be able to tell you this stuff about the conference itself. And like I said, when the videos are uploaded for the conference, I'll put it, I'll probably just attach it to this video, since this is the LanguageCon update video. So, but I'll let you know when that happens, so you can view that. I do pace a lot and try to get close to the audience when I'm talking in a presentation room, and I had a lot of pacing space, so I don't know how much of me you're going to actually see on the video. We'll see how it turns out. Because I'm probably going like back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And there were two screens behind me showing, when I was showing my slides and the videos, and so it was just really, on some sense, very creepy, because there I am presenting, and there's two of my faces with the script, the Hanzi script behind me. And so the script was great. I loved that was so, up front and beautiful. But the three faces of me in one room was a bit much for me. Anyway, but it was really fun. It was interesting. I'm so glad I went. I'm so glad I went. Thank you to my husband for pushing me when it first came out, because the announcement first came out, because I thought, no, maybe next year, because I'm just not ready. And I wasn't ready. The project's not ready. The idea of what could be done to help language learners like me who are very visually based is not ready. But I'm glad I went anyway. And I'm looking forward to part 2 next year. Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to go step over my ego one more time and get back to studying. Satsian!